Hey folks, Damon from BlackWarriorLures.com, making up some new bobbers today. Now, these are my Bream bobbers that I use. They're only 12 inches long, and they're great if you just have a single ball bearing size bobber on it. Just little, hooks, small things, small baits, things like that. But if you want to catch something bigger like crappie or channel catfish, you're going to need something that has some more buoyancy. So we're going to make up a whole new batch. These are the Bream bobbers. Now we're going to make some, I guess, catfish bobbers. Typically start with, I like Balsa a lot, but, I typically go with hardwood because it's just cheaper. And if you go to the Wally World or Walmart or wherever, it looks like the hardwood that they're talking about, that they're selling. This looks a whole lot more like poplar than it does like an oak or something. So we're going to try these out this time. They come in 36-inch lengths, and I cut these for more buoyancy. I cut these in half to make them 18 inches a piece. Okay, so we can show you the difference in the size. See, it's about 6 inches longer, so I'm hoping that'll translate into roughly 50% more buoyancy. A little bit more weight, casts a little better. And hopefully we can get it to stand up when you have almost a full 6 inches here standing out of the water, because with these, even with a single ball bearing, they go all the way down to about here or so, and they're great on the lakes and calm water. But again, we need something for bigger, stronger fish, a little bit something that's better in the wind, and something that's a little bit better in the current. So I figure 50% more buoyancy may translate into a little bit better performing in when you're dealing with bigger fish. So you start out with your dowels, and this is a good just in general thing on how I make my bobbers anyway, at least from the wooden dowels. You can get these dowels for 30 cents a piece or whatever, and then from the Wally World. And then you cut them in half, sand down the rough edge on them here, like so, something like that. And then when I make them batches at a time, so you just make 10 or 15 at a time. And then you need some wire. You can go to a hobby store like this, get some wire like this, jewelry making wire. Go to the jewelry making section and get some wire like this. It's just very thin wire. I forget what size this is. And get one of the thicker sizes that they have. And then you can get one of these tools like here. It's a rounded nose pliers. It's a very useful tool for any kind of lure making or even jewelry making. A lot of common thing between jewelry making and lure making. And what you do is you're going to cut a piece here off about 2-3 inches long. About 3 inches is better, 2.5-3 inches. Take it here. You're going to do it like that. And so that's going to make if you notice here, see, and that's what you want. Cut this part off here, make it fairly even. You can, and you just do a whole bunch of them at one time. It'd be easy if I had a wire forming tool here on the desk where you could just put it in there and do a whole bunch of them at one time. But this is fine for what I'm doing right now. And you just keep doing that like that, and we'll just, it makes a nice little thing now. And this is great because it evens it up. And I'll just keep on doing that until we get the rest of this little batch done. And I'll be back in a few more minutes. Once you have these cut and shaped, formed, take a piece of needle nose pliers. You'll take them and bend them somewhat like this, just like that, to form and that's how you form the 90-degree bend here. Now I'm finding that you can put the straight bend here like this on the bottom but I find it's better to have two 90-degree bends on them. If you were to take this one, for instance, and just maybe, bend it something like that, because what you want is you don't necessarily want you want as little friction as possible between the line and the bobber itself. And sometimes the line will wrap around the bobber and it'll slow down and it won't slip down perfectly. So what you really need to do is put both of them on 90-degree bends, one here and one here. That way there's just no friction. It's such little friction it's just negligible. So you want both ends to be at the 90 degrees. So again, just take your time and come here and bend these like so. And just do about 20, 40, 50 of them at a time, like we have here. And something like that. You don't even need the pliers. Sometimes I'll just take it with my hands like so, bend it like that. You can always make adjustments later. Alright, so once you have all these done, you get your fly tying bobbin, some scissors. You don't have to have scissors like this, but when I'm tying a lot of lures, it's a lot, and doing a lot of thread work where I'm having to use a lot of thread, I get one of these shears. You can get these $8, $9. They're good, they're sharp, and you keep your scissors in your hand. You can do things a lot faster. But I forget what they call these. I think they're shears, some sort of a shear. Just go to a quilting store or somewhere like that, somewhere where they sell fabric, and they'll have them. And get your fly tying bobbin. I come into lure making through a fly fishing sort of tradition or bent or whatever. And so what you'll do is you'll take one of these and you'll just set it right there onto the thing. And it's just like if you've ever built a fishing rod, it's the same wrapping system. The only difference is you're just making your own eyes here out of just really super thin wire. So you put your wire here under the thumb, wrap it back to secure it on there, just like you would tying flies. And then you just wrap it on there. And so now that's secure. You're going to cut this tag end off, right? So the tag end's cut off. And you'll just continue that wrap all the way down the unit there. And sometimes it's easier just to do it like this, just to let it dangle and just let gravity do the work. That way you're not having to just, if you've got carpal tunnel or anything like that, repetitive stress, this is a lot easier way to go about it. Just like this. Now the thread I'm using is a nylon thread. I forget the denier and things like that, but this is some thread that I have used from my old days of building backpacks and outdoor gear. So I have a lot of just that thread just left over, just sitting around the house, and I'm using that up before I buy any other kind of thread for rod building or fly tying or anything like that. And I'm having success with it. I mean, it's not it's not a thread that you would normally find for this purpose. It's not used for this purpose. And it's not as but it's strong. I mean, I've built hammocks with this thread and hung them off cliffs and and taking naps, so this thread works. It's a strong thread. But anyway, the idea is that you put that on there like that and just keep that going. Hope you can see it. It's kind of hard for me to know what you're seeing or not on this camera. But, as you can see, we're just slowly making our way toward that edge there. And you're going to keep that going all the way off the metal here. Now that you can see that that's not too even there, but that's okay. Let me go ahead and finish this up. Let me go over here and get this other piece of thread to show you exactly how we will finish this little knot. So as you can see, go ahead and go all the way off the edge of it, about 4 or 5 wraps, and you're going to take another piece of thread, and it could be the same type of thread. I'm using this because, you know, catfishing, I have this, you know, 35-pound test Dacron, and it's just really backing from fly rod fishing, but I also use it for catfishing. Again, you can do it this way. In other words, you're going to make a loop, and then you're going to start wrapping. You're just going to continue wrapping several times, just like you would before. And sometimes I'm just so used to doing it, I just do it and forget to explain exactly what or why I'm doing it. The reason you do it this way is because we're going to trim this, because there goes the rain. The reason you do this is because you got to lock the thread in, because else it'll just come unraveled. And for those of you who have rod building experience, it's exactly the same wrap method you used building your fishing rods. I'm just doing it by hand here. I don't have a rod building machine or anything like that. So once you get about 5-10 wraps beyond where you inserted here, you're going to pick up your thread there, run it through, thread it through that little loop there, pull it snug, and that pulls it right back under the thread, and it's locked in there. It's not going anywhere. And from there you can put in your epoxy, all that good stuff. And see, that's 1/2 of the unit. So the next thing you want to do is come up here, get another one, get a good look here, see what angle you need to do it. Same thing. Put another one here about an inch or, you know, about 2-3 inches below the tip of the deal. Oops. You're going to align the eyes. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you're definitely going to align them best you can. And I'll tell you what, we're going to have to change out. There's not enough thread left on that one. Alright, show you a quick, easy way to thread the bobbin of your fly tying vise without one of those fancy smatchy just suction. It just pulls it out just like that. Quick change, no problem. Alright, so let's go back to that. So you're going to do the other one here, couple of 3 inches, you know, about 3 inches or so from the tip of the thing is usually what I go for. Let's align it here. Okay, and we're going to just repeat the whole process on this end. You put your thread under your thumb there, wrap it back to the edge there, and come back, and that kind of locks it in, just like if you were tying flies or building a rod, like I say. Once you get into these, you know, the thing I like about lure making is that, you know, there's so many things that that are in common. I mean, once you start building rods, you can start taking some of the skills you used in building fishing rods and start building your own floats, for instance. Or you can start tying your own flies. You can take those same skills and start building your own rods, or start building your own boats. And it's just I guess that's part of the whole maker movement. People are just tired of, you know, people are sick and tired of just mass-produced everything. You know, one thing looks exactly like everything else. So the cool thing I plan on doing next is really starting to work with a lot of different colors with these lures. See if we, you know, what if we can use some airbrush and get some nice combinations of colors for the bright tipped end of it, instead of just everything being black, white, and orange, you know, red and orange or whatever, or yellow. But you just keep going like this once again, and excuse me, and just as before, you're going to thread the thing back through. So once I do that, I'll be right back, because it's going to take me a few more wraps, and quite honestly, I've run out of things to ramble about at the moment, which is weird. unless you want to hear me talk about military fighter planes. So let's go. Here we are again. You want to just go right off the edge of the metal. Again, once you come off the edge of the metal, let it wrap 4, 5, 6 times. Take your loop. Always put your loop. If you put your loop here, you're going to screw up. Put your loop to where you're pulling it back through the thread. That's important. Oh, come on. And almost like a, and there we go, right? And so then, once again, you can do it like that, and you can always push them back down, tidy it up. Again, just further wraps, 5, 10 more wraps. Doesn't take 10. You could probably do 5 and be fine with it, but I always use way more wraps just because that's just what I do. So, but anyway, you clip it there, run it through that loop, pull it snug, then pull it back through. I find that it does help to have a thicker piece of thread to do that than the same size thread or smaller, because it'll just snap off right there into the thing and annoy you to no end. And so there is one complete bobber that's ready to be epoxied. And so that is the next step. So, and again, it's better if you do a whole batch of these at a time. You can sit down an afternoon. My dad used to sit down afternoons, I'll say Saturday afternoons, making bobbers in the summertime. It was always fun helping them do that. And that's part of where these bobber designs come from. Just trying to make the way Dad used to do it. Is he would take, friends, I was experimenting here. He would take cedar. I think cedar. He's got a bunch of cedar. I may go down there and get some of that old cedar that he had. Dad died in 2007. This is 2014. That's been 7 years ago. But we'll sit here and whittle with a knife, and he didn't have a very good way of fastening the line to the bobber. And the bobbers were big and thick and pretty heavy in my opinion. And so once I, because of the internet and things like that, you begin to realize, I found out how slip bobbers worked. And so I started experimenting a few years ago with making my own bobbers and trying to figure out just how narrow a piece of wood can I use. And so this is a waggle style float. It's a slip bobber first and foremost, but it's thin and narrow. There's, and it's almost a waggle style float. So it's very sensitive to what's going on under the water, and that's the whole purpose of it. And so if I want to add more flotation to it, instead of getting a thicker piece of wood, that's why we've gone to a longer piece as opposed to a thicker piece. Because I want that thin, narrow piece of wood, because the fish, that's what's so great about this sort of bobber, is the fish just don't, they don't feel the bobber. It's just, it offers so little flotation, so little resistance, that it just slips right on under the water when they bite it, and yet, and to me, that's preferable to one of these big, baseball sized things that you see all the time in the store that are just mass produced. And so, but anyway, that's how I begin the process of making these bobbers. The next step is to finish out this batch and to show you how I do the epoxy, and that'll be the next thing.